Welcome to Rewrite Reality with Jillian Greyse, the podcast leading the global shift in transformation through frequency, quantum healing, and energetic mastery. I'm your host, Jillian Greyse, architect of energetic alignment, and for 20 years, I've been a pioneer of integrating self-transformation for thousands of souls. Each week, we answer the questions that keep you stuck and deliver high-frequency tools to heal and evolve every layer of your being. Join me to elevate your vibration, rewrite your reality, and activate the life your soul remembers. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Rewrite Reality with Jillian Greyse. I'm going to be walking us through soul purpose on this episode. Soul purpose is huge, and I think that no matter what stage you are in life, this question just sort of sits and constantly comes up and constantly surfaces and constantly tries to push you to answer, and we struggle with it, and we feel like we are inadequate and we can't seem to find it. And in all of the years that I have been working with individuals to help them find many different ways of how they can energetically align with architecting their reality, soul purpose inevitably comes up in every single session at some point. I want to give you the tools that I have given thousands of people over the years on how to put that soul purpose piece of the puzzle into your world and learn it and understand what you're being called to do. And we're going to dissect that step by step. So take a moment, take a breath, grab a pen and paper, because I'm going to give you everything that you need to know and all the steps you need to take in order to discover what that soul inside of you is calling you to do. First, before we get started, I want to thank all of you for everyone out there who is sharing my podcast, who is spreading the word. That is so incredible. It means so much to me. The downloads on my last episode blew me away. And I'm going to continue to provide you with information. I'm going to continue to pressure you to expand your mind and to continue growing every step of the way. So I am grateful to be with all of you on this journey. I wanted to revisit our last episode briefly for just a second. Our last episode, we talked about anxiety. And we discussed that anxiety really is this understanding within your energetic field of the electromagnetic energy around us. And I know that that can seem extremely scientific for a lot of people, and you get stuck on those words. But basically, all that is saying is as the earth and as the cosmic energy around us, so I mean the moon, the planets, the sun, any geomagnetic storms, as anything like that enters into what is called our ionosphere, which is the protective layer around our earth, we feel it. And we feel it because our body is also run by an electrical current. Now, I'm incredibly excited because since that episode, there was actually an article that was released by earth.com that involved an extensive study over the energetic effects of what happens when a solar flare enters into this planet. And they have found and documented a direct link between solar storms and heart attacks. So take a deep breath, everybody, because I'm loving seeing science finally step up to the plate and do a little bit of what they're supposed to do and give us information that is new and validates what we already know, but gives us that understanding on a deeper level. So when I'm talking to you about having anxiety, and when I'm also talking to you about that quickening that happens when there's electromagnetic currents on the earth, that is what's going on in this study. They're understanding and they're beginning to document and see that there's direct correlations between how these storms affect the patterns and the electrical frequency within your body. Now, for some people, that can seem really scary. For some people, they're like, oh my God, do I have to worry about every time there's a geomagnetic storm? Am I going to have a heart attack? The answer to that is actually difficult and simple. It depends on what you want to do in order to safeguard your field. So when you have a high amount of electromagnetic energy moving through your system, it's going to trigger a response in your nervous system. And that's why, in my opinion, it leads to heart attacks, because it causes this influx of stress hormones to be released. What happens when those stress hormones get released is we associate them with anxiety, which is not something that 95% of the culture has. And we begin to think of it as there's something wrong, and then all of those negative thoughts come up. And when we do that, the energy that's moving through the earth does not get to properly move through. So it's sort of like taking 10 volts and plugging in something that is 20 volts. And what happens to that 10 volt when that 20 volt plugs in is it shorts out. Now, if you actively work on building that 10 volt so that it is a higher voltage or it can carry a higher voltage, then when that 20 volt plugs in, you don't feel it as much. So in other words, if you're actively working on moving energy through your body, which is something our ancients knew and did naturally, they would do those things through prayer, they would do them through meditation, they would do them through yoga, they would do them through different types of customs, that they would connect with the earth and the fire and the wind and the rain and the cosmic energy naturally. When you connect with those things, you become a channel, which makes it so you don't deal with the higher physical effects. So I have been discussing this for years for thousands of people, especially when I noticed a correlation with that. And the answer to avoiding those extreme health things that can happen when we go through these huge influxes of electromagnetic energy, which not only encompass what happens when we're dealing with any solar storms, but also encompasses the energy of when we have a Schumann resonance shift or different things that happen within the Earth's plane. When you have an awareness of it, and let's say you are regularly doing techniques to help keep you calm, then that nervous system is not going to be triggered as deeply, and it's not going to throw you into that stress hormone state as strictly. So the answer on how you stay out ahead of that is something that I've been doing with my clients for 2 decades. You make sure that your energy is aware and attuned. So you first have an awareness of when they're coming, which is how I ended up accidentally slotted as an astrologer, which is not something that I talk about often, but I keep everybody up to date when these solar storms move through. And I do that because if you have an awareness of it, then you're going to be able to say, I might be anxious on these days, or, okay, that's where my anxiety is coming from. And that awareness is key. So I do that on all of my social medias. I do that on X. I do that on Facebook. I do that on Instagram. I also release a lot of things to help keep you balanced on YouTube. I also have a private newsletter at jilliangreyse.com that you can sign up for that will, in the moment when we do have a solar flare or we do have one of those Schumann releases, you will know immediately and be able to say, okay, how do I keep my energy as calm as possible? How do I keep myself as calm as possible? So I'm going to put links to all of those at the bottom of this podcast for everyone to take a look at. My job is to keep you informed. And that is something I'm always going to do. And I'm not only going to expand your mind so that you can become an architect of the reality around you. As it's expanding, you're going to feel more. So I'm going to make sure that you stay aligned with it as much as possible because that's my goal. That electromagnetic heightening is also the reason that I created Astralo Yoga. And I did that, it must be probably 7 years. Somewhere between 5 to 7 years ago, because I realized that if you moved your body in a set of patterns, it would help the electromagnetic frequencies move through. So I've been at this a long time, everybody. And the reason for that is not only for my own mental health state, but also the mental health state of the people I love and the people that I have grown to love, because some of my clients I've worked with for over 2 decades and I've seen their families grow and I work with their children now and also them. So it's so important to me. I feel like I am part of a huge family and I love you all so much. So I want to make sure that you're as informed as you need to be so that you can safeguard yourself and the people that you love and be a beacon of knowledge, because knowledge is power. Okay, so now we're going to move on to soul purpose. And I'm going to be giving you the tools that you need in order to decode what that soul purpose or what you're being called to do in life and what that is. And I'm super excited to do this. This is my 12th episode. Taking a peek over here at my lovely assistant who is always keeping on track for me. And she's like, it's your 12th episode. I cannot believe it's my 12th episode already, everybody. I'm so excited. But we're going to be moving through this step by step. So by the end of this podcast, you're going to have a really clear idea of how you decode your soul purpose, of how you use different skills in order to get the information to find what your soul purpose is. And when you do that, it can be incredibly empowering. It can take you from one step to another. It is transformative in life. And I've seen many people do it. And I'm going to talk to you about how, and we're going to move through the steps as we move along. Okay, so one of the first things that I'm going to turn you in direction of is a incredible journaling technique. And I first caught wind of this journaling technique from a wonderful, I don't know what you'd call her. I don't want to say self-empowerment expert, or she's absolutely wonderful at being able to channel in those personal parts of yourself and put them into a fine-tuned package. Her name is Elaine Welderoth, and she goes through what's called the zone of genius. And I took her master class, and it was super enlightening for me. And this is one of the techniques that I began teaching after I learned about just the 4-step program that she has people do, because I found it to be incredibly empowering for most people when they're working through that finding purpose stage in their life. There's also a lot of other techniques. So if this one doesn't feel right to you, we're going to chat about more as we move through. But I wanted to give you this one because it is one of the most streamlined ones. And it also helps to touch upon other areas of your life that can give you some clarity about situations that you've been in or things that you've experienced that you might feel you're lost because of. And they actually were designed to be beacons of light to pull you in the direction that you need to go into. Okay, so grab a pen and paper and sit down because we're going to go through how to decode your soul purpose. So first, you have to ask yourself, where do your natural gifts shine without hesitation? Every single one of us, we have something that we're just really good at. Maybe it's something we don't want to be good at, but we're really good at it and we were born good at it and we didn't have to learn about it. Nobody had to teach us. We didn't have to have any formal instruction about it. We just seemed to know how to do it. For some people, that might be they understand mechanics really well. For some people, they might be a great singer. For some people, they might be a wonderful public speaker. For some people, they might be really good at being able to detect if someone's telling the truth or not. For some people, they may be a really good dancer, really good cook, or really good at connecting with small children. There's so many different special gifts that we all have. And normally what I found with the answer to this question is it's normally something that someone's almost felt annoyed that they've had the ability to do. Like for me on a personal level, I've always had a really incredible ability to coach other people on how to put their lives in the direction that they need to. I've been doing that since I was very young, well beyond doing it professionally. And when I was younger, it was frustrating. It was annoying. It was like you couldn't really have any friends in your life because they all needed or wanted your advice. They all wanted you to kind of live their life for them and tell them how to. And for me, I developed almost like this love-hate relationship with the ability to do that. And for a while, I made sure that I didn't have a lot of close connections because it was easier than having to constantly give people advice, constantly give them direction, constantly have to hear, whatever was going on with them. And it really wasn't reciprocal because I've usually been pretty good at navigating my decisions. So I haven't really needed a whole lot of input on the exterior for that. So it seemed like a lot of relationships were about taking and they weren't about receiving. So for a while, that was a frustrating thing for me. It wasn't until I was in my late teens that I was working with people that needed advice. And when they would use the advice, they would transform their lives. And that taught me or showed me that the benefit of being able to do that for another individual was amazing. It felt wonderful. It was a beautiful opportunity just to turn on the light for another individual and then step back and watch them shine and direct that light however they intended to. So it took some maturity to understand the importance of that gift, but early on it was frustrating. And for a lot of people I work with, that is the same for their gifts. So let's say they were an excellent guitarist or an excellent singer. Well, they normally wanted to do sports. And I don't want to say the two things don't go hand in hand, but quite often if you're really good in the arts, then when it comes to the physical things in life, you don't necessarily have the same handle on it. So what I found was for this question and finding your soul purpose, the question of knowing what you're really good at without hesitation is almost something that you've taken for granted throughout your life. You haven't really felt like it was a wonderful thing to be able to do. And inside that answer is actually a piece of what you need to apply into your future in order to start building towards your purpose. So it's easier to work with the current than against the current. And I'm just going to tell all of you that because a lot of us have this inner or this innate want to fight the world around us. We want to prove we can do something else. So I would find people who were incredibly gifted in the arts that insisted that they wanted to do a corporate banking job when they got older. And those two things don't really go hand in hand. So of course they would be extremely unhappy in that analytical position because their soul's intention was a lot more in the creative arts. It was a lot more in the creative side of their frequency. So I've seen people struggle with this. And I want you to be honest when you ask yourself this question, because it's going to be easy for you to go, God, I don't want to put that, because if it's anything like that, I don't want to have anything to do with it. And I want to encourage you that this is not what this is for. It's being able to see the parts of you that shine so that you can apply them to the things that you enjoy as we move on. Okay, so that's our question 1 that I want you to write down in your journal. And then I want you to revisit that question. So some days it's going to be really cut and dry. You're going to be like, okay, that is exactly what I know. So some days it's going to be, okay, what could this be? And you're going to think about it for a while, maybe write down 1 or 2 things. But if you revisit it again throughout the course of a week, you're going to notice that innate thing or those gifts that you have is going to come out more and more as you continue to move forward, or you continue to move through that question. So I want you to take about a week on this question. Then I want you to pan out and I want you to ask yourself the second question. So the second question I want you to ask yourself is, what skill or wisdom did I earn through challenge or transformation? And this question for finding your soul purpose is really important. And I'm going to tell you the landmine that I found when I work with a lot of clients. They do not like to talk about the wisdom of negative experiences in their life, because everybody starts at this platform of how something was done to them. It isn't until they work with me for several weeks that they begin to realize that is not a reality. That thought process of the world has happened to you has to be shifted in order for you to step into your power, or for you to step into your ability to architect your reality. So I always challenge that thought first, but a lot of people get stuck in that question of what they've gone through, what challenges have then invoked transformation, because nobody wants to think that a challenge is done for them. And when you ask yourself that question, I want you to sit back and I want you to look at your past, the things you've experienced. Maybe you've been through divorces. Maybe you came from a divorced family. Maybe you had really poor experiences as a child. Maybe you were in abusive relationships. Maybe you had a passing of a loved one when you were relatively young and it caused a lot of trauma. I want you to look at whatever you've experienced in your past, and then I want you to ask the question, what did this help me become? Before we continue, let's take a breath. You're here for a reason, not by accident, not by coincidence, but through divine orchestration, and these words were meant for you. This is your moment to rewrite humanity. Think of one soul in your life who needs this transmission and send them this podcast episode now. There are so many out there who are silently struggling. Our role is to reach them, to ignite something ancient and true, whether it's someone you love, someone lost in the noise, or someone ready to remember who they are. This is your chance, because vibrational awareness doesn't just shift minds, it realigns lifelines. It reawakens paths. It reconnects souls to their original blueprint. Be the bearer of that light. It isn't just generous, it's sacred work. Share this, speak it, seed it. This is more than a podcast. It's a movement, and you're a vital part of it. Let's rewrite humanity together, one frequency, one soul, one remembrance at a time. Now we continue. And that's super profound. So when you can take an experience that was a trauma and then you can ask yourself what it helped you become, you're going to decode why you went through that experience. Because that experience, and all experiences that we have that are not positive in our human frame of mind, are there for a purpose. And when you begin to plug into understanding that purpose deeper, then you begin to open up to a whole different aspect of yourself that you formerly were ignoring, because it's a lot easier to play that role of being the victim. It's a lot easier to say, I don't have control of this, when you actually do have a finite amount of control over all your experiences and how you see them. So let's say you went through a divorce with your parents when you were younger, and that was super traumatic for you, and you felt lonely, and you felt cast aside, and you felt unloved. But through that, you began to learn that you could depend on yourself, that you were much stronger than you thought, that you had to be loving in order to work through that. I want you to really come to a heart-to-heart with those experiences, and I want you to look at the things or the outlying lessons that were involved that helped you to become a stronger person, a stronger soul. And you're going to find that those qualities that had to be extracted out of you are actually qualities that are going to be your strongest qualities when you're moving forward to figuring that soul purpose piece out. Okay, so you're going to spend about a week on that question again. So you've got a week on question 1 about your natural gifts. You've got a week on question 2 about your skills and your wisdom. And then after that, you're going to move into question 3, which is what activity feels like pure joy, even without recognition or reward. So we all have something that we just love. So maybe we're not the best dancer. However, we could dance all night long. Or maybe we are the best dancer and we could dance all night long, but we just don't know what to do with that. Maybe we are really profoundly connected to learning more about quantum physics and to kind of discover the answers to the universe and the answers to what we are so you can break the code in a way. That is something to pay close attention to. The things that you're drawn to are the part of your soul that has come here to have a quest or to learn more or to create from. And when you're creating in that piece, you're always going to feel like you are fulfilled. When you're getting more knowledge about it, when you're doing it, you're always going to feel like it's filling you with something. And that feeling is so important to really get connected with, especially as you're working through finding that soul purpose feeling, because you're basically now listening to your soul calling. And when you listen to your soul's calling, that starts to help things unfold for you. I want you to spend a week on that question as well. And when I mean spend a week on the question, I mean write the question down and then jot down the answers, maybe for 2-3 minutes a day, and then come back to it the next day. And then the final question that we're going to ask is, what principle or truth do you hold as non-negotiable in your life? And what I mean by that question, finding soul purpose, is what is the part of you that is so ingrained in what you believe is right or wrong that you are not going to allow to be swayed from it in any way, shape, or form? So for some of you in finding your soul purpose, you might find that one of the most important things to you in your integrity is to be a good parent. So time with the family, being able to be there for your children as they're growing up, being able to have a strong bond with your partner, that takes precedence. That makes you feel like you're accomplished more than anything else. So if there's outside situations in your soul purpose as you are trying to build towards whatever direction you're called to, and you start to find that it's requiring too much time from you, or you start to find that it's calling on you to do too much to be away from the kids, and you start to get that angst inside of you where you're not in love with that feeling or you're not in love with that distance, then if you keep going down that road, you will end up in burnout and you will crash and burn when it comes to putting your soul purpose together and making it something tangible that you can use as a future business or future work or a future direction in life. You have to honor that inner feeling that tells you you're at your boundary point. And the boundary point and what the boundary is different for everybody. So keep a close eye on the ball as we move through this soul purpose discussion, and know that if you get opportunities as you're growing that are going to cross that line for you, you have to say no. If you don't, it will come back to haunt you. I've seen it happen way too much. And that's when people push past it, it's because ego is taking over the thing that their soul is calling them to do. And the two don't mesh well. Okay, so again, you're going to spend about a week on that. So you're going to be 4 weeks really hard into the soul purpose kind of decoding. Not a lot of time though, just about, 5-10 minutes a day. And then at the very end, so on the final day of the week, after you have written about everything that you're being called to for each one of those answers for 6 straight days, you're going to sit back and you're going to circle all the common themes. So you probably wrote a lot each day, or you probably wrote a few things each day. There's going to be common things that repeat every single day when you answer this question. And I want you to become familiar with those things, because those are going to ultimately be the breadcrumbs to get you where you want to go. And when you compile that list of all of the things that are common themes that you wrote about in each one of those questions throughout the month, you are going to find in that list, which I want you to write down, that is going to be your guidebook for whatever you're being called to do. It is going to have to involve pieces of those parts of you in themes that are within those ideas that are going to be drawing you or driving you to your purpose. And if you're applying all of those skills, you will be successful. At anything that you do, you will be successful. Okay, now I'm going to tap into our community questions aspects for soul purpose. And this was one of the most profound group of questions that I have ever received. I'm incredibly excited to get the opportunity to answer these, but these are really deep questions. And both myself and my assistant chose deep questions because my objection is to continue to open your mind to more than just what's in front of you, to give you the opportunity to see everything that's surrounding you and the energy of it, the deeper meaning behind it, and really push you to understand things on a whole different level. So I encourage all of you to hang in there for the question portion because there's a lot of really powerful questions, and I want to make sure that you gain all the knowledge that you need because that is the goal. Okay, this first question is from Amira, and Amira is in Arizona, and she wrote, how do I know if my soul purpose is meant to serve others directly or if it's more about healing my own lineage? Okay, so we often think that our soul purpose means that we have to go out and heal the world. And that's what's become one of the biggest problems with that word of soul purpose. For some people, they have very specific needs to help humanity. And there's no reason to impede upon that or to say that that's a negative thing. For some people, they're drawn to that. But that is not the definition of soul purpose. The definition of soul purpose is putting your authentic creation on this planet for others to experience. And your authentic creation can be a myriad of different things. It can be a book that you wanted to write, a music that you wanted to do, a blog you wanted to start, a program that you were interested in experiencing and sharing with other people. It's different for everybody, and it's equally as valid. Because what people don't understand is it's not about changing the world, it's about changing you. Because the reflection of you reflects out into the world, and the world reflects that back. So you essentially achieve your purpose when you are helping yourself grow, and you achieve that direction that you want with helping the world to expand by just helping you. So what I'm really going to point you towards, Amira, is focusing more on the things that you're drawn to, like we talked about in this episode, some of the different ways to decode that and to find that for yourself. And when you find what that purpose means, as you step into it and as you start to dabble with bringing pieces of that into your life and bringing pieces of that into your current everyday, you're going to naturally find that who you are is shifting. You're happier, so you're kinder to other people. So there you go. You just help to serve others directly. You are excited for life. You want to inspire the people that you talk to. Maybe not even about what you're doing, but just to be an inspiration for them. Okay? You're serving others directly. So just by changing your frequency to be authentic, that serves others directly. So let's get away from the idea of I'm going to save the world with my purpose. I want to table that idea. I want to table the whole idea of if I'm not productive unless I'm saving the world, because that is an insane qualification to hold yourself up against. And you don't understand the way world works if that's really what your goal is. Your goal should be, I want to be the best that I can so I can reflect that out into the world. And that's how your soul purpose goes from being something that's very internal with you and turns into something that serves others directly. So focus more on that micro piece, because that micro piece is going to expand into the macro naturally. And that's more of what soul purpose means. That's more of what being in line with your purpose is, rather than doing something or inventing something that's going to change the whole planet. Okay, this next question is from Devin, and Devin is from Salt Lake City, Utah. Devin asks, is it possible that my soul purpose shifts across timelines? And if so, how do I stay aligned in the now? That is a really big question. And just by acknowledging that there may be multiple versions, and this is a concept that's coming to light more and more as science is really explaining time. And I don't go too deep into this podcast yet about that, but it's huge. And essentially when I teach and talk to you about manifesting, I'm teaching you how to jump timelines, because jumping timelines is all related to the frequency you're on, and the frequency is related to your emotion. So for you, Devin, the only thing you want to focus in on is happiness and excitement and being authentic. So if you're feeling those things, then you're on the best timeline for the you that exists in this moment that you could ask for. And when we start to overthink it, the way that this question kind of can draw you into, then we actually get so lost that what our creation begins to become is something that we get confused by. because we don't want to create the wrong thing for the wrong timeline, because that might not be the direction we need to be in. And if we're not on the timeline that we need to be in now, then if we move into a different timeline in the future, is that going to change? Does that mean that this wasn't a good one? See how crazy that thought process can get? And when we have limited information on something, because we're human, so we're still in the middle of an experience where a lot of this stuff is unfolding. So when you have limited information about something, to use that information to hide or to stop you from growth is the exact opposite of its intention. So knowing that, okay, there's something there about different timelines that we can experience. How can I apply that in my known world right now in a way that's healthy and be able to move forward? That's really the focus that you want to be in as you move through it. And if you are being your authentic self, you are always going to be on the highest timeline that you can expect. And that authentic self involves you being happy. It involves you feeling abundant. There is no better timeline for you to be on in this moment with the knowledge that you have than a timeline that aligns with that energy. So stay focused on that. Stay focused on that energy. Stay focused in that direction. Stay focused on that being something that is your goal. And then let the exterior unfold as you move forward. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be in what you consider the perfect place in the perfect moment for the forever field. You need to be in the perfect moment for you now. And that moment is something you can feel your way to. Okay, this final question comes from London. And this question is really, really heavy. And London from Johannesburg, South Africa writes, I've had visions of ancient templates and star systems since childhood. How do I discern whether these are memories or metaphors guiding my soul path? Okay, so that can be really challenging for people when it comes to dreams. And I'm actually going to do a whole podcast on dreams and premonitions, and I'm putting that together now. And that will be here in the future. So you're going to have a lot more answers on this as you keep listening throughout the weeks and we keep moving forward. But knowing that there is energy that you feel that has come from different time periods or different star systems or different information from your ancestors, that is something that a lot of our ancestors dealt with. And we would go into meditative states to actually pull that information in when we were in more ancient cultures. So when you want to go back to ancient Egypt and when you want to have conversations about different time periods that there were, from the Mayan times to even civilizations that we don't have a ton of documentation on, from Atlantis and Lemuria, so much about the knowledge that they received was based in being in higher states of mind. So meditative states or states where they were in deep prayer or in deep ritual. And if you're receiving information from those states when you're sleeping, then discerning and understanding how they should apply to you now is easy. If the information coming through makes you feel uncomfortable, then it's not in line with you, because that feeling of being uncomfortable means that it's not meshing with your field well. It's not moving into your energy field very well. And this goes with a lot of things. Like, this is a proof of a lie detector test that anybody can use. If information is coming to you and someone is talking to you, and then all of a sudden you get this, it's like a hesitation. It's very hard to describe, but people who get it know it, where they're like, wait a second, that didn't sound right. That's always your intuition telling you, okay, there's more to this story. It doesn't match. And if you're someone who's trying to find the answers to something, that's when you start to investigate a little bit more. For you, if visions and things that you're seeing are giving you uncomfortable feelings, then you have to set those aside because they're not part of your journey. They're not part of something that you need to continue with. But if you become heavily intrigued, and let's say you're seeing some of these visions and you're seeing some of these memories and you're starting to really feel connected with them, then that would be when some research would be a wonderful thing for you to do. So looking back at some ancient belief systems, and maybe you're being drawn to certain types of rituals that you can apply to your healing technique or in your healing handbook to help you move forward. Having an open mind about that is huge. And we have more information more than ever right now. I don't know about any of you, but I know they're going to have a lot of parameters around a lot of these AIs. But these AIs and their ability to draw ancient information, like if you ask them to give you a list of healing techniques that they used in ancient Egypt and different codes and different frequencies that can be used. It's really cool, the information you can get back now, and then step back, meditate on it, pray on it, and then see what parts of it you want to use, what parts of it feel right to you, and then move forward from there. But you want to treat all of your experiences in your growth this way. You want to always put them through the field check test. You want to always be saying, okay, how does this feel to me? Am I comfortable in this space? What does this mean to me? Should I explore it deeper? And if you are drawn to exploring it deeper, then I'm going to tell you to absolutely listen to it, because our ancients knew about the placement of temples and how they played on not only the ley lines within the earth, but also where they were located in the star system fields and how they could channel in energy deeper. There was a lot of knowledge trapped in those civilizations, and those civilizations started cracking a lot of codes that we in our civilization, they got hidden from us, and they got hidden from us through belief systems. And I don't really go into this in too much depth because it's such a hot topic, but so much about our theology was actually written by the politicians of the past, not the people who are having firsthand experiences. And I think people forget about that when they decide that what they connect with is the best, and people who don't connect with that they're not of as much value. They don't understand that they're just basically reading a doctrine from people who were the politicians before them, and they're treating that as something that is a way of life. And I wouldn't pick any politician in my entire lifetime that I would give that much power to. So even your own belief should be put through that field check. If you get information from your belief or your theology that makes you feel uncomfortable, it makes you feel like you are being controlled, it makes you feel guilty. The creators and why we are here on this planet, our state is about love. Our purest state is about love and authenticity. So if you're getting information that's making you feel otherwise, then that information did not come from the creator or the creation energy that you believe it came from. It came from the politicians. So I get amazed all the time of all these people that still fight wars over the politicians' ideas from centuries and decades and beyond. It's a very convoluted topic, and stepping away from it really does involve a lot of self-awareness and a lot of knowledge. If we all just sort of could do our own research and our own background information and kind of step away from what we're indoctrinated into, then there'd be so much more centralization of acceptance than there is today. But that's kind of a side note. If you're being shown things, then you need to explore them. There is so much ancient information and material out there, and applying that to finding the answers of your soul path is something that you may be drawn to do as well. You may find that some of the things that you're seeing in those star system are maybe repeated numbers, and then you can always start to use those as your guides in your direction. Like as you're moving through, if you've gotten certain ideas and you're like, I want to explore this, you can say, okay, show me double numbers to help me decide whether or not I should move in that direction. There's lots of ways you can play with this. And this is definitely a topic that is better for a private session because there's so many different avenues with it. But the short answer to your question, London, is yes, honor whatever feels good. Step away from the things that don't feel good. And then see what the information you're getting and how it can be applied, and do some research to find out more about what you're seeing. That is what I would tell you to do, and then applying it towards your next steps as you're moving forward. Okay, this last one is from Nikita, and Nikita's from Lisbon, Portugal. And Nikita writes, I feel like I've already completed my original soul purpose. Is there such thing as a second activation? Absolutely. And it's not necessarily a second activation. We are creative beings. Our entire objective of being alive is to create. So if you're not creating, you start to lose life force energy. And what I mean by that is think of what happens when we age. Many people, especially in this latest generation, become very sedentary, very stuck in their ways, very connected to watching TV and reading the news, and they stop creating. They stop going, okay, what makes my soul feel alive? And when you do that, you start to die out. So your light starts to die out, or that energy field that we talk about, that electromagnetic field that runs through us, it starts to become weaker. And that to me is the cellular definition of death. So when you ask yourself, okay, what is my purpose here? And you stay in line with that purpose, it doesn't matter what age you're in. You should always be creating. And you can have several different waves of different types of creation as you move through. But when you look at those who are in the older generations that are fantastically in great shape and that seem to be defying all odds, they're all people who continued creating. They're all people who did not start sitting on the couch and watching TV. They're all people who had different passions that maybe started in their 60s or started in their 80s, and they ended up living out healthy, long lives and are still in the middle of doing that. And they're breaking a lot of the old constraints that used to be believed about aging. So the key to anti-aging, everybody, isn't about shooting your face up with chemicals and taking all sorts of things so that you can forget that you're getting older and trying to keep it away. It's about creating, because creation brings a vibration within you that is better than any youth serum you could possibly imagine, because you're filling your purpose. So when you look at the Martha Stewarts of the world and you look at people who are well into their 80s and 90s and are really doing well successfully, they aren't your let's retire, sit on the couch and watch TV generation. They are your what's next. So you should always be asking what's next. And for this question, I'm going to tell you, you're not only going to have one purpose that you think you're drawn to in life. That purpose should evolve. It should change. It can be different. Your purpose is creation. So stick with that as your mantra, and you're going to find that you sail through so many things in life that are struggles for people, because that is the meaning of why we're here. Okay, everybody, that is going to conclude our episode. As always, if you have any questions, you know where to find me, jilliangreyse.com/ask. I am here for all of you. Make sure that you take a peek at my social medias to follow everything so that you know when any of these high intense energy frequencies are taking place. And as always, keep creating. That's what we are. I love you guys, and I'll chat with you next week. You've just tuned into Rewrite Reality with Jillian Greyse, architect of energetic alignment and pioneer of integrated self-transformation. If this episode shifted your frequency, share it with someone you care about, because one share can spark healing, alignment, and a ripple effect of transformation in someone's life. Submit your questions today at jilliangreyse.com/ask and explore transformational tools, masterclasses, and frequency-based healing at jilliangreyse.com. Join me every week to elevate your vibration, rewrite your reality, and activate the life your soul remembers.